Question 31 is now telling us to go to figure 2. But if you saw my video for number 30, it's the same kind of thing. Nothing's really changed, it's a different figure, but we're not really changing the strategy. Still, we need to follow instructions. We need to not make any assumptions about this graph other than what is directly there. And there is no y-axis. The heights of the dots and the shapes is irrelevant. It has nothing to do with anything. It has no meaning whatsoever. The only thing that matters is the left and right, the x-axis, where it's talking about the percentage of the yield. So let's go to the choices. Of the organically grown species represented, soybeans have the lowest yield. Well, soybeans are right here. Now, notice it's the lowest dot vertically, but that doesn't mean anything because soybeans are something like, I don't know, 90%. But this dot all the way here, the wheat dot, is more like 60%. So it's not the lowest yield because 60 is lower than 90. So that is wrong. But you can see how they want to trap you with it, right? They want you to see lowest and be literal about it. Like it's literally the lowest dot, but this means nothing, up and down. B, the organically grown maize and barley represented are comparable in their yields to conventionally grown maize and barley. So, okay, so that's maize and barley are the triangle and the empty circle. So first of all, they're not comparable to each other, so that's not a great sign. But what does it mean for the organic to be comparable to the conventional? Well, that's this piece right here. So at 100%, the organic yield is the same as the conventional yield, is comparable to the conventional yield. The number of observations for each species is shown in parentheses. That doesn't matter. So if they were at 100, then yes, we could say that they're comparable to their conventionally grown counterparts. But that's not what's happening here. So you probably would get rid of that just because they're also not comparable to each other. But yeah, that's the reason, is they're not at the 100% line. So choice C. Of the organically grown species represented, tomatoes have the highest yield. So tomato is right here. And definitely not the highest yield because look, soy is higher because it's further to the right, right? So is this one, maize, right? So this time the y-axis might not throw us off completely, but that's definitely wrong. Now let's look at D. The organically grown species represented have lower yields than their conventionally grown counterparts do. Now I know why people don't pick that, because this one requires us to understand this piece right here, whereas the others are much more visual choices. Choice A is definitely a trap, but it is a visual trap, right? It's again about high and low. But I kind of just explained why D is wrong for choice B, or why D is right in explaining why choice B was wrong. In order for the organic version to have the same yield as the conventionally grown, it would have to be right here. That line, that 100 line, says that if you grow organic tomatoes, you're going to get the same number of tomatoes as if you grew conventional tomatoes. But all of the species here are to the left of that line, so they're all less than 100%. Meaning if you grow organic tomatoes, you're only going to get about 80% of the number of tomatoes that you would get if you grew them conventionally, right? So you grow 100 conventional tomatoes, then you put those same plants and you grow organically, you're only going to get 80 instead of 100 like you got before. So that's just what the graph means. It says it, but I get why you have to kind of think about it for a second, and it's not as obvious as some of these other ones. But it just goes to show what is true no matter what for these graph questions, is we're really not drifting too far away from the graph. Okay, we really want to just stick to the information there. Occasionally you need to go to the passage, but it's very rare, and these questions can be answered quickly because you don't need to do a lot beyond look at the right graph. So make sure you follow instructions, look where you're supposed to look, read what you're supposed to read, and the answer should just kind of be obvious.